When my cherry was popped, I was left puzzled as to why my bed sheets were still bleach white. If I just lost my virginity, then where was all the blood from my now broken hymen? After some more practice, I eventually bled while having sex, and I assumed my hymen had finally broken open. Before I dive deeper into this topic, I just want to give a warning, a little preface that when I say a man and a woman, I'm talking about a cisgender man and a cisgender woman, and I'm focusing on cisgender men and women since that's tied to purity culture. I'd also appreciate it if you'd like, subscribe, and comment. I grew up a part of a Catholic household in South Texas. Purity culture and the misinformation that comes along with it are seen as truth and common knowledge. In purity culture, the hymen is believed to stay intact until the vagina owner has lost their virginity. Seeing blood on the bed sheets after having intercourse for the first time is supposed to validate that this was indeed their first time. I used to think my hymen was like a water balloon and was tucked inside my vagina and would somehow disappear after being penetrated. Many others believe the hymen is like a seal at the opening of the vaginal canal. The hymen is located at the opening of the vaginal canal and is a thin piece of tissue. There are 5 types of hymens: an annular or crescent shaped hymen, a cribriform hymen, an imperforate hymen, microperforate hymen, and septate hymen. Majority of women have an annular or crescent-shaped hymen. The other 4 hymens are considered abnormal since it makes it harder to menstruate. However, if you're born with one of those rare-shaped hymens, the thin tissue will slowly break down over time, creating an annular crescent-shaped hymen. You can also break this extra tissue, yes, by penetrating it, whether it be a tampon, a finger, sex toy, or yes, a penis. Since the hymen is elastic, this process should not hurt. In rare cases, some individuals do experience pain. You can have your hymen medically removed if you do have an abnormal hymen, but this is rarely ever done. The hymen is compared to a scrunchie by Nina Brockman and Ellen Dahl in their TED Talk. They make this comparison due to how elastic the hymen is. And just honestly, overall, the vagina. Because think about it, average vagina is only 3.5 inches deep. So, like, how is Riley Reid taking down Mandingo then? Well, when sexually aroused, the vagina gets a rush of blood and actually elongates up to double in size. You can think of this as a lady boner. The vagina stretches to accommodate tampons, partners, toys, and of course, babies. Besides stretching, there really is no true function of the hymen. It's kind of like your wisdom teeth. Sure, you can use them to chew, but do they really serve an individual purpose? No, not really. The myth behind the hymen seems to have been created around the same time as civilization. The word hymen comes from the Greek god of marriage, who goes by the same name, which was the term used for wedding songs that were sung by the bride's train when walking down the aisle. While we saw civilization flourish, many began transitioning from being hunters and gatherers to more of a farm lifestyle. Caring for livestock and produce, especially at the dawn of civilization, was backbreaking. Couples often had large families. Women at the time had an average of 4.5 to 7 children. I've never been pregnant, but wrangling livestock or hunched over harvesting vegetables does not sound fun at any stage of pregnancy. Whether it's morning sickness or being 9 months pregnant, I do not want to be doing hard labor. The time spent carrying multiple children with the additional recovery time after giving birth meant women were out of commission for almost a full year at a time. This meant traditionally the man of the house was the breadwinner. Tending to the farm was a visible act of labor that is easy to comprehend. The time, effort, physical, and emotional toll it takes on a woman's body is harder to measure and understand since we can't physically see this growth, especially during that time. Thus began the patriarchal system, which is the belief that women are inferior to men and only good for sex, whether that be for pleasure or procreation. The popularity of monogamous relationships also play into creating this narrative that a virgin woman is valued more than a sexually active woman. Virginity status and sexual history are closely tied to misogyny. Women are supposed to be pure and well behaved, taking care of their household duties. In comparison, men are supposed to play into this hypersexual being who can do no wrong besides being seen as feminine. These toxic gender roles harm everyone. Virgin women are abused by being commodified and sold as brides to pervy men or to the highest bidder wanting to deflower them. On the flip side, young boys are sometimes set up with sex workers by an older male role model to ensure they don't end up gay. As if being gay is wrong and somehow sleeping with a woman or not determines your sexuality. On top of selling virgins to sick men, plastic surgeons sell hymen repair surgeries to fix your broken hymen. Preying on vulnerable women for profit is deplorable. You can also find fake hymen kits for sale online. Because, oh yeah, in some cultures, a man can perform an honor killing on his bride if she doesn't pass the bedsheet test. The UN estimates that 5,000 women and girls are murdered each year in so called honor killings by members of their family. Honor crimes are acts of violence, usually murder, committed by male family members against female family members who are perceived to have brought dishonor upon the family. A woman can be forced to undergo a virginity check, which is a fake medical procedure done to see if a woman's hymen is still intact. This violates a woman's privacy. Instead of trusting her and taking her word for her virginity status, she is subjugated to an unwanted dressing and showing her most vulnerable self to someone else and possibly being groped or worse. Can you say trauma? Luckily, the pseudoscience test is outlawed in the United States and many other countries. Ain't it funny how there's not a test or some way to tell if a man's a virgin or not? Isn't that kind of interesting? Women in conservative cultures can also develop anxiety over accidentally breaking their hymens. YouTuber Ellie from Ex Fundy Diaries was brave enough to share her story about her struggle with vaginismus. Vaginismus is a medical condition where the pelvic floor muscles flex and tighten up, making it hard to impossible to penetrate. Sexual assault victims sometimes develop this response due to physical trauma. However, Ellie developed vaginismus over her anxiety about keeping her hymen intact until her wedding night. We can now see men facing their own crisis tied to misogyny and virginity. If the concept of virginity isn't real and sleeping with a bunch of women doesn't mean you're a man, then what does? This also deals with society finally learning about transgender and queer individuals. Do you need to have or be born with a penis to be a man? No. Or do you have to be an alpha male Chad who never expresses their feelings? No. I hate to break it to you, but gender is also a made up social construct. There is no one characteristic that solidifies you're a man or you're a woman, not even your genitalia. Because there's even intersex people who have additional chromosomes to their X and Y. So, like, what are they then? If it's only a binary, there's got to be more. At the end of the day, if you identify as a man, you're a man, okay? Or whatever else you want to identify as, obviously. Virginity also sexualizes female minors since they're believed to have had fewer sexual partners. Somehow, everyone's value is intertwined with their sexual history. If you're a woman who has had more than one partner, you're a slut. If you're a virgin man, you're still seen as a little boy or a bitch until you get laid. This doesn't take into account those who have been sexually abused. Are you going to tell a survivor they have less value because they were sexually trafficked against their will? And if you're a virgin, you're still equal to everyone else too. So when having sex for your first time, are you actually losing anything? No. As long as you're having safe, consensual, and legal sex, you can only gain knowledge and confidence in the bedroom. What should matter is someone's character, whether it be dating or exploring friendships. Because at the end of the day, if you treat me right, does it really matter how many people you've been with or lack of people you've been with? I lost my virginity at a really young age, and honestly, that was the most traumatic experience in my life. And I'm glad that the relationships I've been in, none of my partners judged me over that. I am me, and the amount of people I've slept with does not determine my value as a person.